a way better trade was the next one on our list. A trade that was actually fair for both teams, and I think both teams you can actually argue for both teams that they won this trade. And this was the Niners saying Deforest Buckner to the Colts, and they got the Colts number 13 overall draft pick in return. And then after Buckner was traded, they then agreed to a $21 million a year deal, which does make DeForest Buckner the second highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history. Blake, well, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's a pretty fair deal for both teams. I think it's interesting that Buckner's now. I guess that's just what happens, right? When you're one of the first players of your draft or free agency class to sign, you're going to set the market as long as you have a good agent, of course. But the number 13th overall pick for Buckner a few years later after he's drafted, I think that's a good return still. It's not top 5 like Buckner was picked when the Niners selected him, but it's still like a top 15 pick for Buckner. You're not losing in that situation. They're still going to be able to add potentially a top tier talent. And then in the first 13 picks of the draft, there's going to be a good guy available there, right?
Exactly.
So
it's not interesting. Just about what it does for this year, is well because they re-signed Eric Armstead to a big deal, and they're able to free up some cap space because next year when his contract runs out, they're going to have to pay George Kittle, and this does now free up. They were not going to be able to sign Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, and George Kittle all to big deals. It's just not going to happen. So they choose the two that they thought best. And instead of having to pay this guy that they're not going to be able to afford, they get a first-round draft pick in return. I think it's a good deal for both teams.
Yep, I think the Niners, they were looking forward to the future, and they just knew that there was a choice that had to be made, and they chose their guys that they wanted to stick with. And, Buckner gets a good landing spot as well to a potential contender, seeing what happens with the Colts situation, of course.
I think
QB,
so.
That's much interesting.
Exactly. But the Colts are doing this to pick to kind of beef up that defense, and which is something that they need to do. And this DeForest Buckner is a beast on the interior D line. And this is really going to help them. Now they have a dog in both sides of the ball in the trenches. They have Quentin Nelson on the offensive line, who is my favorite offensive lineman in the league. He is a dog. He's just a vicious animal. He's really just a bully on the field. And now you got that same guy, same mentality, same physicality, same ability over on the defensive line. And if you control the trenches, you're going to control most games. And the Colts are building their team the right way right now. And I think they're going to be contenders next season.
Yeah, I think it just depending on even if what's his name, Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah,
even if he's starting, they're going to have a good chance. Depending, of course, on Houston.
Jacoby isn't bad. He's not like a top tier quarterback, but he's not a bad quarterback. If he has his team around him, they're going to be able to do some good things.
Yeah, and so far they're only adding; they're not really subtracting. So. No. They got good pieces on offense with Marlon Mack. They got T.Y. Hilton still. They got good pieces on defense, adding Buckner. Their linebacker. Who's their linebacker?
Their linebacker that was All-Pro in his first year, led the NFL in tackles in his first year. The dude, and also great guy off the field.
Darius Leonard, right? Is that his name?
Darius Leonard. I saw him helping a lot of tweets, like helping someone with their broken down car and all that stuff. Great guy on and off the field. And the Colts are building talent, and they're building fairly young talent as well. So the Colts are prepping for next year, but they're also prepping for the next 5 years, which is a great way to plan out the future. They're like I said, they're building this the right way.